Okay, we are in the Wednesday session for Bitcoin. On the Monday session, we went in and we back tested the trend line. We got a bottoming tail. We were down 1%. We were down more than that. Tried to rebound around the 50 period and the bottoming tail. As I always say, again, candlesticks mean nothing unless they get confirmed. You got a hammer, but there was no confirmation to the candle. The slide continued and we went down towards the 50% retracement down here, this level down here, and we ended up dropping yesterday by 3.95 or 2.95%, almost 3% on the Tuesday session. Currently, we're rebounding right now. At the moment, we're up 1.21% on Bitcoin. Now we got the breakout over here above the resistance zone. Told you up here with the topping tail, we're slamming into major resistance once again in the weekly time frame. We're slamming into major resistance. We saw a pullback. Told you right here this is likely where we're going to bottom. I was correct. And the 50 period, we hit the 50 period. We hit horizontal support. The resistance zone turned support. Told you that we had a bull flag and I expected a breakout. We got it. And then on the 4-hour chart, I told you that we'd likely get a new high above this level to form a divergence on the 4-hour chart. That was correct. Told you, even though I was expecting that divergence in the 4-hour time frame, I still expected a back test of the breakout here, a retracement of this level if we moved beyond this level towards these Fibonacci levels. Now listen carefully. Even though I was right about the pullback over here and the peak over here, when I told you I got topping signals right there at that topping tail before the sell-off ever started, right about the bottom here, right about the bull flag, right about the breakout, right about the new highs, right about the pullback, that doesn't mean I'm going to be right about this low holding. I mean, that's just my opinion, okay? I have the guts to tell you what I think. But because I tell you what I think is going to happen before it happens, I'm at a disadvantage. Most people predict things after they already happen. Something happens and they talk about how obvious a top was or how obvious a bottom was. I tell you what I think before it happens. Or like over here, I told you we were going to get a pullback here, but I told you I didn't know if it would be a deep pullback or a shallow pullback. It was a more shallow pullback, 12%, as we kind of pulled back and went sideways. But I told you I didn't know how deep of a pullback we would get. When I don't know, I try to tell you that. I did predict correctly the pullback, and then we went sideways. We were watching, will we get a rebound back up, or will we get one more push down? We got the rebound back up. Here I'm watching. Am I going to be correct? And we get a higher low here and resume the advanced building momentum to take out these levels here, which is resistance in the weekly time frame? Or am I going to be wrong and we get a deeper retracement down to one of these deeper Fibonacci retracement levels? I'll show you the Elliott wave counts. I have two possibilities for this. And again, I'll show you why I think that we're going to set up this higher low. We're coming very close to it. I could be wrong and we can breach it. If we do, then I'll show you my alternative Elliott wave count. But support resistance now turns support, and I think we're building momentum to take out this level. We may get a bigger correction. I got a lot of people saying, well, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ look like they're about to starting a correction right now. Yeah, but sometimes there's short periods of decoupling. Bitcoin's had these bigger corrective moves than what we've seen with the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. While there is a longer-term positive correlation, you do have periods of short-term decoupling. Now, again, maybe Bitcoin does get a bigger retracement. And if it does, again, if we take out this low here, we have our 50% retracement from this entire advance right here. We have our 61.8 Fibonacci down here at 108,000 and some change. The 61.8 Fibonacci going back into this trading range right here. And then we have the 78.6 Fibonacci at 103,800. 100% retracement takes us back down below 100,000 here to 98,000. And that's where our 200 period is right there at the 100,000 level, just above 100,000. So these are the levels I'm watching. Now, again, I'm telling you what I think, but I'm also telling you what could happen if I'm wrong about a higher low right here. Regardless, whichever way it plays out, I do believe Bitcoin is going much higher, and I do believe Bitcoin's building momentum to try to clear this level. But we did get a topping tail in the weekly time frame with this reversal that we saw here with Sunday's close out a couple of days ago. This reversal down gave us a topping tail in the weekly time frame. Now, topping tail might be a short-lived sell-off, or it might be something bigger. So Bitcoin doing exactly what I thought it was going to do, at least so far. And if it takes out this low, then it's not going to do what I thought it would do. And we'll get a bigger retracement. And if so, 61.8 fib at 108,000, 78.6 fib, 103,200 period near the 100,000 area. So these are the levels that I'm watching. And if we do that, I'll show you on the intraday chart, it could be a big A, B, and a C move that takes us down in here somewhere. And we could still have this low hold at 98,000, still hold above the 100,000 area where our 200 period is, and still just have an ABC, a larger corrective move. So that's assuming that intermediate wave 2 isn't done, didn't finish over here, which I'll show you on the intraday chart in just a moment. We're trying to bounce off support. Bitcoin's trying to get a bottoming signal. It keeps coming and going away. It might, as I'm working the video right now, it might go away any second now. But right now we are trying to get a bottoming signal, trying to get a bounce. Now, again, the signal may form and still end up getting canceled out if support breaks and we resume the decline in the next 2 sessions or so. It can be canceled out. If we get a bounce, it might just be marking a short-term bounce. It could mark a bottom. One of the signals I used to call the bottom was this signal at 74,000. It can mark tops. It can mark bottoms. Signals can counter trend rallies in a downtrend and an uptrend. It can mark these pullbacks. I programmed my own indicators, and I programmed this to tell me where turns might happen. It doesn't tell me if it's a top or bottom, which sometimes it is. Major tops, bottoms, major bottoms. It's also associated with pullbacks. Sometimes it's a smaller pullback like this. Sometimes it's a bigger pullback like this or this. It just tells me where a turn might happen. Like right now, it just went away. Did you see that? It just went away. It keeps coming and going. So again, maybe the signal forms by the end of the session. Maybe it doesn't. It'll look at the close. And here it is again. Look at that. So again, we have many, many hours before the close. So this signal may go away or it may form by the end of the session. If it forms by the end of the session, it still could be canceled out in the next day or two. So do keep that in mind. It has to meet criteria that I have programmed into it in order for that signal to remain. Now, if the signal does remain, it may just be a short-term bounce, and then we still break support. We're trying to bounce off support. So do keep that in mind. Just because the signal forms doesn't mean that's it. Over here, we got these topping signals. It was just a pullback, and we still went much higher. And same here. This was just a pullback. We still went much higher. The signal may form and we still may go lower. So do keep that in mind, or the signal may be canceled out. So I think worth watching. We have taken out the orange line. We've taken out the purple line. Bars are red. So again, the risk is that we keep going down unless we could see a reversal happen. Wanted to make you aware of that we might form a bottom here. And maybe I'll try to do a video tomorrow. No guarantee that I do, but I will try to do a video maybe tomorrow, see what signals happen. If we do, again, I program my own indicators. My signals are bearish right now, hitting support. So I'm getting some signals that's saying, hey, maybe we get a bottom here, like we did over here, like we did over here, like we did over here. But if support breaks, again, right here, suggested maybe a top, like what we had over here and over here, but then we blew right past that level. You can see the same thing. We can blow right past it and get a bigger corrective move, as I'm talking about with my Elliott wave counts in this video. If I'm right about a higher low, the bulls need to step up to the plate and buyers need to come in here in a big way. Wrong, we get a bigger pullback for Bitcoin. Again, my signals are bearish. Bars here red, telling me we're either going sideways or we're going down. That's what it's telling me, okay? If bars remain red, it'll be in a downtrend like what we had over here. Maybe not as big, as I said, a bigger pullback if we take out support. If we get a higher low, the bulls step up to the plate. Bars have to turn back to blue to resume the advance. Momentum is negative. The momentum line is bearish. Balance of power has gone negative. possible bottoming signal here, but signals have turned back to bearish. Momentum's bearish, trend signals are bearish, so the risk is we take out support and get a bigger sell-off or bounce off support and then get a bigger dump. Moving back closer towards our 200 period moving average. Nice signal at the peak here. I shared that with you. Signals are bearish. They have to turn back to bullish if we're going to rebound. If they remain bearish, we can get a bigger drop and take out support. Again, signals have turned back to bearish. The cloud here, bearish. If it's going to end, if the selling's going to end, you got to turn things back to bullish. If they remain bearish, the risk is you get a bigger sell-off. Take out horizontal support. 112,000 area right now is key horizontal support. Just flip through a couple of charts. And again, my signals are bearish, so there's risk of a bigger pullback. Bearish signals tell us we're either going down or we're going sideways. Rejection just above the ribbon there. A head fake above it. You got to be able to clear the ribbon to resume the advance. Again, bars back to red, flipping back and forth, telling us we're either starting a new downtrend, a bigger downtrend, or we're going sideways. Inverse head and shoulders here, it measures to the 151, 152,000 area. But my signals are bearish. In order to resume the advance, we have to see them revert back to bullish. They remain bearish, we can get a bigger sell-off. My signals remain bearish. We got that topping signal, reversal bar. I told you about that at the time. That's flipped bars back to red, but the trend is neutral. You get a bigger sell-off. We can start seeing that turn red and turn down, marking a bigger sell-off. But right now, neutral, very similar to what we had over here, similar to what we had at the bottoming process. So again, this signal did play out very nicely at key resistance. And again, let me repeat, signals turned bearish, trying to bounce off support. If I'm wrong about a higher low setting up, we can get a bigger pullback to test this low back over here. If support at 112,000 breaks, the risk is we get a bigger sell-off or a reversal. It's all about support and resistance. Please support the channel with the link directly below that allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, if you like my indicators, let me know that by supporting the channel today. Follow the link below to take you to a secured site and you can donate any amount you want or make it a recurring donation. If you do that, I thank you. It takes a lot of time and effort to do this. I'm just showing you stuff I look at every day to make my decisions about Bitcoin. I don't have sponsors. I turn those offers down. So if you like my indicators, you like my charts, let me know that you want this information by supporting the channel. Let me know you want me to do this rather than go off and play golf or something or go play racquetball. Most YouTube channels make their money through sponsors. I choose not to do that. I need to hear from you in order to make it work. So please take a moment to support the channel today. Anything helps. I thank you for your consideration for that. Watch the video all the way through. I'm getting a lot of questions. I try to answer them in my videos. Got another warning sign of a top over here. We hit the upper Bollinger Band. We turned off of it. Things are flipping back to red and bearish. Now we're hitting support. Do we bounce here? Do we break it? That's really $64,000 question. If you lose 112,000, you're going to get a deeper Fibonacci retracement and possibly risk moving towards the 200 period if we take out the 50, which is what we have just done. Risk is a bigger pullback or a top for a reversal, which again, I don't think that we have, but I'm open-minded to if we can't clear resistance. My guess is we're going towards 150 to 175,000. We're stalling at key resistance levels. Intraday charts, again, just want to look at this as we did a moment ago, the resistance zone turned support. Here we are. RSI moved into the negative region. Now, I told you right here, I was looking for a higher high and a higher low. Over here, we got a lower high, and a lower low. I was looking for the opposite to happen. As I've said, if I'm wrong about that, then the correction right here is not done, and you likely have a larger ABC that's going to come back in here somewhere into the trading range, moving towards the 200 period and getting a Fibonacci retracement. If we can bounce here, get back above the 50 period moving average, get back above the 10-period moving average, that's a red line right there, and move the RSI back into positive territory, then you might establish a higher low. It can play out either way. And again, I believe we get a higher low, but that was my opinion. I could be completely wrong. We've come very, very close to this low, so we might try to take it out. But does the MACD firm up here and establish that higher low and the stochastic recycle back up? Or do we just have a bounce here and we end up reaching and breaking this level and getting a deeper Fibonacci retracement? And that's why I showed you the Fibonacci levels. So again, I'm going to show you two scenarios. I told you what I thought. I thought we'd go higher and then pull back and get a higher low. So far, that's in play, but I could be wrong about that. Again, I am at a disadvantage because I tell you what I think before it happens. Most people can't or won't do that. Now, in coming back here, we are taking out an important trend line. Now, this is the trend line that I used to call the bottom over here. I told you we hit this rising trend line and horizontal support, this resistance zone turned support, and that's where I call that bottom. We had moved back to the 50, just above our 100, the pink line up just above the cloud over here, just above the 100, just above, just into the cloud, above the lower boundary of the cloud. So again, we've reached this trend line. We've taken out the 50-period moving average. Now, trend lines change. You do have a possible rising wedge pattern. It could give us a larger Fibonacci retracement. We could have wave 1 from the April, when I called the day of the bottom on the April low, wave 1, wave 2. Now we're in wave 3, and we could have our first wave done, possibly the second done, or if I'm wrong, these are the intermediate waves. If I'm wrong, then intermediate wave 2 is not done. We go A, B, and then maybe C. And then we go on our way, intermediate wave 3 of primary wave 3. But if we get a higher low above the 100 period, and Bitcoin follows the 100 period moving average, sometimes you take it out and bounce off of it. Other times you hold above it. When things are bearish, you lose it like we did over here. And here we back tested it and you hold below it. Bitcoin follows the 100 period moving average. If you learn anything from me, learn that, because Bitcoin is not hard to understand. It comes with its own outline, the 100 period moving average, the pink line you see right here. Now, the cloud and the 100 have been acting as support. If they do again, you can get back above that trend line and build momentum to clear these levels. Talked about the divergence over here, giving us this sell-off that formed the bull flag. Talked about this divergence that's given us our current pullback. We rallied back up into the trend line from these previous highs, excluding the shadow right there, slammed right into it, slammed into weekly resistance, and turned down. Got the pullback I was looking for. Here, going up and making a new high, slamming into this trend line, slamming into the trend line in the weekly time frame. So again, we've seen the MACD in positive territory with the breakout of this trend line. We moved into positive territory, moved briefly into negative territory, firmed up here, over here, firmed up at the center line. These arrows I've marked on the MACD, here we are right just at the center line right now, just slightly under it. Do we firm up here, validating a higher low, or do we see the MACD go negative? Do we see the MACD go negative and we end up getting a bigger sell-off? So this is what I'm watching. All about support and resistance. I tell you what I think, but I don't know the future. I'm not Nostradamus. I, again, look at support and resistance levels. And I'm telling you, if we break the support, you're going to get a bigger pullback. If we bounce here, then we can resume the advance. You know the future, you are one up on me because I don't know the future. I'm a trader. I look at mathematically based indicators. I look at moving averages. I look at support and resistance levels to try to make educated decisions. Now, again, longer term position, again, after the big sell-off, I told you that we bottomed. I called the very day of the bottom at 74,000. Several signals bottom out on the 7th, 8th, and 9th, trigger on the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Total bottom on the 7th, predicting new highs. I was correct. And again, longer term position, I think we're going to go much higher towards 150,000 to 175,000. I'll be selling into the rally when I think we've peaked. I also trade Bitcoin back and forth, and I trade these short-term price fluctuations. My longer-term position, again, I'm ignoring these short-term price fluctuations. And I bought actually the lows over here. I bought the 200 period to start that position. Bought it down here at the bottom when we moved this low and formed Divergences on indicators finish the position at the 74,000 area, Bitcoin's average price. And I told you if we lose Bitcoin's average price right there, the orange line, that was going to be extremely bearish. If we lose that area, drop below it, and stay below it, we bounced off of it, as I correctly predicted we would. But we'll see what happens right here. Right now, we're trying to rally, at least for the moment, at support above our 100 period moving average. Now, again, I told you why I thought we'd get the pullback appears because of the diversions, topping signals right there at that peak. I was right. I told you why I thought we'd bottom right here is because of the support zone, our 50 period. And that was right. Told you right here that we are likely going to go and make a new high above this peak that would end up forming a divergence with this high right here, because I know that right here we slammed into major resistance in the weekly time frame, and I told you we could hit it again and form another divergence there and get our pullback to back test to break out of the bull flag. Well, we're moving beyond that. We're hitting the 400 period moving average here in the 4-hour time frame. The 50 is still above the 200, but it's curling down. But we're forming a possible bullish falling wedge. Do you see the bullish wedge outlined in blue? So the divergence, I was correct about going to a new high. I was correct about the pullback and some of these other calls that I've made. But will I be right about a higher low? I don't know. We've come very, very close to this low right here, very close to it, just a fraction above it. Now, I believe that we had primary wave 1 over here. I believe that we've corrected here. We had primary wave 2. I believe we're in primary wave 3, and I think we have these smaller subwaves that are forming. I believe that we have a 5-leg push high here with our minor waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minor waves to make intermediate wave 1. I've marked this as completing intermediate wave 2. This is where I could be wrong in that we've corrected, and I marked it as a WXY. This whole thing could be, rather than wave 2, wave A, and this could be a wave B where I've marked it wave 1. But I've marked this as intermediate wave 1 and 2 of primary wave 3, and now we're in the third intermediate wave of primary wave 3. I am correct with getting minor wave 1 and minor wave 2, and then we'll get minor wave 3 of intermediate wave 3 of primary wave 3, which could be an explosive move higher. If I'm wrong, we take this level out, then wave 2 over here, intermediate wave 2, did not complete here, and you likely have a larger ABC that will take you deeper down into this trading range here, but probably holding above this low and probably holding above 100,000 or 200 period moving average in the daily time frame. Are you picking up what I am throwing down? So this is what I think is happening. If we break out, then maybe I'm going to be correct. We get back above the 200 and the 50, then I could be right. You got to get back above the cloud and these moving averages. If I'm wrong and we take out this low, then you have yourself a bigger corrective move, and intermediate wave 2 is not done of primary wave 3. Here, let's take a look at that. Here is the 4-hour chart again. Now here again, I've marked this as primary wave 1, this correction as primary wave 2, and now we're in primary wave 3 and we're getting these first subwaves. I've marked this as intermediate wave 1. It looks like a 5-leg push higher to me. If I am wrong and this is not intermediate wave 2, which could be over here, I've marked it as, on the other example, I've marked it right here. It could be we have a larger ABC or WXY complex corrective pattern that we have an A, and I marked the other one as a complex correction, but that whole thing could be an A, could have a B, and then we could see a C move down in here somewhere, or again, coming back towards the 100,000 area somewhere to the Fibonacci retracement, the deeper Fibonacci retracement levels that I've shown you. So again, those are the two scenarios that I think are correct. I told you I thought we'd get a higher low. I could be wrong. Not claim to know the future. I do just look at support and resistance levels and tell you what I think. But because I say things before they happen, I'm not going to always be right. It's just my personal opinion. Again, we've come very close to taking out this level. We're just a little bit above it. We very well could take it out. And if we do, then I'm looking down in here, moving back towards a low 100,000 area. But again, 98,000 is the low here. 100,000 is at our 200 period in the daily time frame. So there you have it. Those are the two scenarios. To be bullish, we got to get back above the 50 and the 200. 50 has to hold above the 200. Got to get back above the cloud. Bearish, you take out this low, and you move back into the trading range over here. And again, we still may pull back, as I talked about in the daily time frame, and this trend line may change. It may change right here. It may change at lower levels, but trend lines change all the time. Again, you might change it right here, or you might come back and get a bigger sell-off and change it here. Trend lines change. We had this channel. It evolved, this trend line breaking into this trend line we currently have here. So the risk is we take out the 100 period and get a bigger pullback, which is still possible. But in order to, if we do that, in order to resume the advance, you've got to get back above that 100 period moving average, because Bitcoin follows the 100 period moving average. The risk is that we have pushed up to this trend line. Again, we pushed up to it, turned off of it. We hit it in July. We stalled at it. We got a topping tail. We pulled back, and then we rallied up just higher. And then again, these formed those divergences on the 4-hour chart, slamming up into this trend line and the upper boundary of the rising wedge there on the daily chart. We slammed up into these resistance levels. We got a topping tail, and we're turning down. So the risk is that's a top. My guess is we're going to pull back and build momentum to clear this level. We may get a bigger pullback. The risk is that it's a top. Okay, and this trend line right here, excluding the shadow here in 2021, we hit these levels in 2024, in December, and the January of 2025, and we got above them. We hit this other trend line, including the shadow from 2021, the first peak in 2021, and now we're stalling there. You've got topping tails, so the risk is that that's it. I think if we drop back below the 200 period at the 100,000 area, then there's risk of this. But if you can hold above the 200 period, even if we get a bigger pullback, you could still try to build momentum to clear this trend line. I think we're going to the 150,000 to the 175,000 area, and maybe above that, and reach this trend line. We may fall short of it, as we fell short of it down here, but this is where I think we're going. I think that we are in primary wave 3. I think we'll finish it, get primary wave 4 and 5, and I think we'll finish it, maybe hit this trend line as I've talked about, maybe fall short of it. This is where I think Bitcoin is going. Take us to 150,000 to 175,000, or maybe beyond it. There is more resistance in the 140 to 150,000 range. The inverse head and shoulders measures to about 151, 152,000. We could fall short of the trend line as we did back over here. So we'll see what happens, but I do think Bitcoin's going to top in a few months. Personally, I don't believe this is a top, but again, we start taking out the 200 period in the daily time frame, we start taking out 100,000, then I could change my mind and I could be wrong. And I have the guts to tell you what I think. We clear that other trend line with our linear scaling here in the log, with the log scaling in our weekly time frame. This is where I think we're headed to, which might take us moving towards the 200,000 area, although I've said I don't think we'll reach it, but we could come near it. It has these divergences. Bitcoin has these divergences, and that may end up giving us a bigger pullback, a possible reversal. My guess, though, is the divergences aren't done. Right here we have a divergence right here. They're log scaling these highs, pointing up into these highs, forming a massive divergence. Again, it may not be done yet. 2 videos ago, I told you why I thought Bitcoin would peak in October or November, maybe December, based on the Bitcoin halving data, based, the timeline from that, the timeline of how long were the previous 2 bull markets. Now, we may fall short of it, and that may be it. This may be all she wrote. Now, I'm open-minded to that, but I'm just telling you, Bitcoin has a couple more months left in it. I talked about in that video. I think it's going to get a more parabolic rise towards the end. Well, I think that I'm still open-minded to, hey, if we stall at this level here with this log scaling from these highs, the linear scaling, it's possible Bitcoin has topped a little bit earlier than the previous last 2 cycles. And if you look at the RSI, again, we've got this multiple point divergence from these previous highs of a move here parabolic-wise. Have we had it yet? Talked about the Fibonacci extension levels in my previous updates. Do we still reach those levels, or do we stall at this trend line right here from these previous highs in 2021 here with our log scaling from the previous highs, their linear scaling going back to 2017. So that's where we're stalling at. The risk is that's all she wrote. Guesses and divergences aren't done yet, but I could be completely wrong. Now the MACD isn't rolling over here. This is a weekly time frame. It still might not, even if it does roll over, we still might see a divergence here in the most recent price action. We are seeing the price oscillator roll over, and we have this divergence very similar to what we have the RSI momentum, the same thing here. So again, we get a bigger pullback, we still may build momentum to clear these levels. I'm showing you there is risk here in the weekly time frame of a bigger sell-off or a possible reversal if we break key horizontal support right here that we're trying to currently bounce off of at the 112,000 area. This level, if you take it out, if you take this level out, you can get a bigger pullback. Our 20 period, our 50 period moving averages here, 50 periods acted as support. The advance when we've taken out the 20-week moving average, which is that blue line. So again, I think Bitcoin still has more time, but I'm showing you what could happen if I'm wrong about that. Look at the stochastic. The stochastic's turned down, had a little divergence right here, but maybe it's not done yet. Maybe we see it recycle back up going into the next couple of months, November, October, let's say October, November, December, something like that. Bitcoin has topped. What it did over here, it dropped 52% in a couple of months, and that was it. It was over. Weekly signals turned back to bearish, and they remained bearish. So we'll see if signals, the weekly signals, can remain bullish here. Return back to bearish. Just as Bitcoin follows the 100 period in the daily time frame, Bitcoin follows the 20-week in the weekly time frame. We're still above it. Again, as long as we hold above that level, that's a positive thing. You start losing the 20-week, then you can correct like we did over here, back to the 50, correct back to the 50, or again, you lose the 20-week. And that was it. Over here, you went back up to it, got a counter trend just above it, but then it failed, and the bottom fell out of Bitcoin. So again, my guess is the divergence is not done yet. I'm showing you what could happen if we get a bigger pullback, or if we get a reversal off of the trend line right here, and the trend line that we're turning off of in the linear, with our linear scaling on the weekly chart, 2017 peak.